Welcome to the first trio edition of the Whole Health with Rob Carney podcast. And on this very special episode, we have Jason Gandzjuk, Xavi Donobedian, and myself all coming together for one power-packed conversation. And here we talk about harmony, love, pain, loss, authenticity, knowledge and experience, as well as plant medicines. So I would love for you to dive in, take a seat, do this while you're cooking, while you're driving, while you're doing anything really, because we got a lot of cool information to share here, a lot of beautiful messages spoken from the heart by these two wonderful gentlemen. I think you will really enjoy the conversation we had. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. So without further ado, we have a very special edition of the podcast. We have Xavi D and Jason Gandzjuk and Rob Carney all in one podcast. So I want to welcome Jason and Xavi to the podcast. Welcome, my friends.
Thank you.
Saturday, my man.
Exciting.
Happy Saturday it is. So I think the first topic we want to touch on is harmony. So I'd love to hear. Let's start with Xavi, because you're the first square on my screen here. Let's start with Xavi. What have you been doing lately for bringing harmony into your life, and what's been the number one if you had to recommend to listeners?
Cool. Number one, thank you for having me on the podcast. Jason, thank you for being here to share this lovely moment.
Absolutely.
Talk about harmony, three voices, three hearts in the same space. I think that's a wonderful example of harmony. Harmony for me is being aligned with nature. And when I think of nature, I think both nature within and nature without. So harmony with the external world, the symbiosis of the plant world, the animal world, the soil, being in touch with that, gratitude for that, acknowledging our part in it. And then internal harmony, internal nature, for me is kind of thinking of what our deepest desire, our dream, our sense of fulfillment comes of, and then being in harmony with the ways in which lifestyle principles or lifestyle habits bring us into greater communion with that sense of true divine nature, as one of my favorite teachers would say. So as I go through that process of just trying to step back from doing so much and being a little bit more, find more harmony for myself, because I take myself away from this impulse of feeling like I'm out of balance and out of harmony. And the easiest way for me to get back into harmony is simply to acknowledge that I am in harmony, rather than trying to do a million things in order to feel more harmonious. I find for myself a lot of exhaustion and confusion in the past has come from thinking I'm out of balance and that I need to do 14 different things to bring myself back into balance. And the irony is I was in balance the whole time. And the feelings of imbalance are what I'm feeling of the world, and healing through myself as a means of contributing to the greater well-being and health of all.
Beautiful. Jason, you want to share your take on this topic here?
Well, I'm already in harmony. Actually, right there. That created a lot of harmony with inside myself. So thanks, my man. Mm-hmm. Harmony. Let's see here. Let's feel here, actually. Instead of let's see, let's feel. A lot of people say let's see now. Let's feel it. How I'm able to establish the feeling of harmony in my life is being able to acknowledge pain. From pain, I'm able to establish and create harmony for myself and love. That's how I've been able to establish unconditional love for myself, is feeling the pain that I've suppressed for years and seeing honestly the true beauty in it all. And that's how we're able to learn and grow and connect to the things that we often see and take for granted for. And that's nature. Trees, birds, ocean, mountains, hills, the desert, etc. All of these things we don't acknowledge and really see the beauty in. There's beauty to see in the desert, but a lot of people don't really see the beauty in the desert, and that takes away from them being able to see the beauty inside themselves to that degree. And I feel like from seeing and feeling pain, it allows us to have a better understanding on who we are. So that's how I've been able to create harmony for myself lately, is to let the pain come to surface and to learn and grow and sit with it instead of trying to run away from it or trying to figure out why I am in pain. And that's really taught me a lot lately, actually. I think I've learned more in the last 6 months than I have in the last 20 years of living, to be honest, from acknowledging a lot of the pain that I've been in. So I think the biggest thing for a lot of individuals to really have that connection, for them to create harmony with inside themselves, is to learn from pain. Learn that there really is no right, no wrong decision you're going to make, because even if you're not making, I guess you can say, if you're not really making the right decision, you're going to learn that and you're able to grow from that. I mean, I look back and there's a lot of decisions, for example, that I regret that I made, but I'm honestly really happy I made those decisions, because I was able to learn from those decisions. Normally, it's when I make a good decision, I don't really learn. You normally learn from your mistakes to a certain degree, and our mistakes are decisions that we really shouldn't have made. So I'm not running away from pain, or I'm not running away from hurt, any of that anymore. Not that I'm seeking it out. It's just when it comes, I let it come. And I live in harmony with it.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think I'm feeling very similar to kind of just both of what you guys are saying. I mean, as Xavi said, I'm trying to be more. I'm trying to do less and be more, and just kind of take with what's happening and enjoy the process, and not trying to do, as Xavi said, 14 different things at a time. Not trying to be 14 different people, and just trying to be me, trying to be Rob, trying to appreciate what I have going on, because there's a lot of incredible things going on within my world and within the world at large right now, that sometimes when we're trying to do more and just accomplish more and make more change, sometimes I miss the beauty in the actual process of what's actually happening. And of course, there's so many issues in the world that we want to improve and we want to make better. But sometimes I think it's important to just take that moment to step back and be like, wow, things are pretty darn beautiful as it is right now. And yes, there's always room for change, but that's going to be forever. And no matter how much change we continue to make, there's always going to be more change that we want. And I think that it's just been beautiful for me to take that recognition. This month of September has really been a transition month for me, and just with a lot of new changes going on with school and work and all this type of stuff, which has been incredible to not try to add more on top of that like I normally would, but just allow that to happen and allow that to come up, and see the relationships that are blooming out of that, because I've given myself the space, and instead of trying to fill every possible waking moment with doing, allowing some space for being has really brought a lot of harmony into my life. And really just spending the time as it transitions to fall here in New England. It's one of the most beautiful times anywhere in the world, in my opinion, as the foliage changes. And it's a time of year that I've always resisted in the past, as I'm a very much a summer person, because I like to go, do. And summer's great for that. But this year I'm really focusing on just embodying that change and allowing the harmony to find itself within me, as opposed to me seeking it out.
Beautiful, man. I love that. Hey, may I ask you a question, Rob?
Sure.
Where does the feeling of needing to do come from for you?
I think it comes from a feeling of just not being enough, not doing enough, and just, for myself and also for other people. I mean, obviously growing up, we want to be the best of the sports. We want to be the most popular. We want to be this. We want to be the most successful. We want to be all these things outside of us. We want to be what we are not right now. We want to be, the grass is always greener on the other side, I think is the best way to put that. And I think that's where a lot of that comes from, is just always trying to look forward and set goals and set dreams and set visions, which are all great when balanced within the appreciation for the present moment. And I think that's really where it comes down to, is just trying to be something for myself and also for other people.
Yeah. Yeah, I can really relate to that, man, for sure. Yeah, I think that's what really takes us away from honestly establishing health and love for ourselves is feeling the need to constantly do more and more. And that really takes us away from being in the present moment. It does. We're thinking ahead on what we want, or we're thinking in the past on what we haven't achieved already, or wishing we've had more, which is really hard to change that perspective on how we go about the things we do. And that, I think the at least for myself, the thing that is like the chief regulator on what sparks that need inside of me to consistently do more and more is being dependent on other people's thoughts, emotions, and opinions. And I'm trying to enhance those qualities with inside of myself to where they're not looking at me the same way that they were. And that creates me to do more and more and more. For example, to be better, better, and better. That's what sparks it with inside of myself for sure. So I would say the biggest thing for myself is just not establishing that connection to where I'm dependent on what other people's thoughts, emotions are.
Beautiful.
Or it's dictating mine.
Now, Xavi, I mean, I wanna kind of link back to our previous podcast where going into your past, where you were overweight, you had a lot of body image issues in the past. I want to know your thoughts on this area now in terms of other people's perceptions, doing for others, and how that has been a part of your journey in particular.
I really kind of link that back to what Jason just said about the opinions of others and what it means to be an empathic person. To me, empathy is the ability to compassionately connect to the energy of the world around us. And as a very empathetic and sensitive kid, I picked up on a lot of unresolved emotion, anger, judgment, and criticism in other people. It took me a long time to learn what was mine and what was not. But in that stage of feeling like everything was my own, that I was the one at fault, that I was the one to blame, that I should be ashamed of myself, that feeling of inadequacy drove the desire to be more, to be popular, to be acknowledged. And behind the intellect that I developed, behind the sense of self-connection, was a little boy trying to hide from the world, trying to protect himself. And what I noticed as I've started to connect with parts of myself that feel afraid and ashamed is that they don't actually want to be held in high esteem in the opinions of others, but they just want my love and attention for how they are. And how they are is often inadequate, afraid, intimidated. And for those reasons, I think that I drive and have driven myself to try to be something that I'm not, because it's a nice shell, I'll say, kind of like a tortoise shell, where the soft interior of who I am can hide. And as a result of that, I'm feeling right now in this moment in time, I'm really growing into being able to establish who I am in vulnerability, and to share that vulnerability with the world, and at the same time know that the person I've always wanted to be is actually within us, within each and every one of us.
Beautiful. What I'd like to know, both of you, just obviously you are two very self-aware dudes. You guys are very aware of yourselves, of the world around you, how it all interconnects. And I would love to know what practices you guys have used to kind of develop that self-awareness, to develop that connection. Is it through meditation, through plant medicines, through connecting with other people? What are the tools in the arsenal that you two have used to develop your self-awareness?
I think the first thing that comes up for plant medicine for me is laughter. Because Plant medicine is so powerful, and it's this comic relief, I think, of the comic relief of tragedy and trauma that penetrates very deeply into the being, which is why a lot of people can't handle it. But I'll just share briefly, they already shared. Plant medicine in my past has really helped open me up to a greater meaning in what's happening. Not necessarily a greater reality, but more insight into the reality I'm living.
Now, when you say plant medicine, for the listeners, is to give a better idea on what we're talking about. Plant medicine, cannabis, ayahuasca, DMT, psilocybin, etc. Can you be a little bit more specific on your experiences on what plant medicine you've engaged in?
For sure. So cannabis and psilocybin are the two that I have experimented with. Okay. Much more cannabis than psilocybin, but both psilocybin experiences, two of them I've had, have been very deep. I've not ventured into the other realms because I felt I reached a place in plant medicine where I would benefit more just in feeling grounded in myself to do more exploration from a sober state. And I felt like I could put more of that into action, into actionable intelligence from a place of sobriety rather than engagement with the medicine, because I think it's so powerful for me, sensitive to it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for sharing, man. Going back to pain and really honestly creating harmony with inside myself, as far as sitting with the pain and learning with the pain, and the medicine has honestly allowed me to establish that awareness around pain, where I honestly am able to feel and see pain differently. The medicine doesn't change who you are, but it allows you to reconnect to your soul, to where you can honestly feel on how you're feeling. A lot of people are so numb from not taking care of themselves physically, mentally, and emotionally that they don't know what it feels like to actually feel. They're eating poor quality food, and you ask them, don't you feel like shit? No, I feel fine. Feel fine. I mean, how many people say that when they're eating shitty food? And you're just like questioning, like, how don't you feel like shit when you're eating that? I mean, you're eating a hamburger and you're drinking a Coke and French fries. They're just so numb that they can't actually feel. So the medicine has provided me with an experience to where I can actually feel my emotions to the degree to see things differently from how I thought I was seeing things. And this is going specifically in regards to losing my mom, is because I'm not just using plant medicine to just fucking get high and go off in La La Land and say I just had an experience where I saw stars and I went on another galaxy, for example, and aliens. I'm working with the medicine specifically for certain reasons, and I go in with very specific intentions in order for me to honestly heal some emotions and parts inside my heart that have been very suppressed and hurt from losing my mom. And now I'm able to reconnect with her and honestly see the real beauty in the fact that I did lose my mom, because there's honestly a lot of beauty to be seen in that. Why? Is because right now, as we speak, she is here with me right now. And I know that for a fact, because I'm able to, in as little as a few minutes, get in a state of meditation and say, Mom, if you're here right now and you're listening to me, please create like a numbing, cooling sensation on the left side of my body, the feminine side of my body. Within seconds, the left side of my body lights up with just some sort of sensation. That's how powerful it is. So I really don't feel like I actually lost my mom now. And how many years, 26 years, I was living as if the worst thing that's happened to me is losing my mom. And that put me in a state of denial, and that put me in a state of consistently suppressing so many emotions. It's like our society conditions us men that it's not okay to fucking cry. And that's the worst thing, is we should cry. Tears honestly express beauty and love within inside of ourselves. So now I'm able to honestly look at this whole situation differently. And I'm able to honestly really see the pure beauty in death. There's a lot of beauty in death. All what death is just another opportunity for us to continue growing and learning, just in a different state of living. So when someone passes away in this so-called lifetime we're living at, it's just because that individual has reached their full potential in order to learn and grow. And once they've reached their full potential, then it's time to evolve into another life to where they're able to continue learning and growing. And that's when you become an angel. And that's what my mom is. She's an angel to me. And there's nothing but love and beauty in that. And how much of a fucking relief that is for me, and a weight off of my shoulders to see that and feel that. Literally see it. And I've been able to literally see it and feel it and connect with it with using medicine in very specific situations with the right intentions. And it's not like it's just been easy to do or anything. I've worked with shamans, and honestly is when I've actually worked with the medicine, it's if anything, it's been quite scary in certain situations. It is, because you honestly are in a state of death. You really are. You're able to connect to people in such a unique way that it takes you out of the state of feeling like you're living, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. And thank you for sharing that, Jason. I think it's, as you said, it can transform pain into a completely different perspective. And it sounds like that I can only imagine how incredibly difficult it is to lose a parent. It's not something I've been very lucky to not have to and go through just yet. I know that that's something that we all go through at some point in our life, but thank you for sharing that. It's beautiful. And I can definitely say that through my experience is that, as you said so eloquently, is that the pain, you just look at it differently. You feel it differently. You think about it differently. It's just all your senses in the plant medicine I'm referring to specifically is with psilocybin. So with psilocybin, I can say that every single one of my senses was lit up in a way that I've never felt before. I feel like I saw colors that I had never seen before, because human beings can only see a very limited spectrum of the color spectrum. I mean, different animals, I think it's a lot of bugs can see very different colors than we can see. We are just physically not able with our vision, and just like we can see our nose at every given time and we tend to ignore it. When you're on things like plant medicines, your brain is opened up to new possibilities. I'm hearing all the sounds around me, but I can also hear just one sound around me. I can be very aware of what's going on in my environment, and I can also feel everything moving through me. And I think that's one of the most powerful parts, as you were talking about earlier, about let's not see, let's feel what the harmony is. And I think that's one thing about my experience with the psilocybin mushrooms is that I feel so intimately connected with the planet, with the people around me, with the air, the trees, the bugs, every living creature, that it's hard to then go back to everyday life and see a bug and say, oh, I'm going to kill that thing. Or, oh, that's a weed, let me spray some Roundup on it. Or whatever the case may be. It's once you've experienced this interconnectedness, you can't go back. You just feel what it feels like to be so connected, and how we are so interconnected with every single living creature on this earth, and how every decision we make impacts every other living creature. If we kill that bug, all of a sudden maybe the frog doesn't have dinner, and now the frog isn't going to kill the mosquito, which may have given us triple E or something, or whatever. This crazy train, we can go down this what if train, but the fact of the matter is, we don't know what our effects are. We don't know what our little ripple is that ripples out to the rest of the world. And by experiencing these plant medicines, it really allows us to think and not only feel, but think about our impact and think about everything in just a completely different perspective. And I can definitely say that I've used the medicine many times when I have in my opinion, a large life decision that I cannot think logically about. I can't think clearly about due to what I perceive as the downside to making the wrong choice or however the situation may end up. A lot of times I'll use a small dose of the psilocybin mushrooms and just go out to the woods or go for a walk in a field somewhere where I'm in nature and just allow myself to be and not to think and not to be writing down a piece of paper trying to logically figure all this stuff out, but just seeing what bubbles up. And it's very rare that I come out of that experience without the answer that I feel is the right answer for me at that time. And I
Mhm.
think it's pretty incredible to really just take that step back and just see what comes up, because there's a lot of pain, as you said, that's been hidden down. As men, we're told not to cry. You don't want to be a bitch. You don't want to do this. Men don't do that. Whatever the stereotypes are, and then you see these emotions come up. You see this pain come up. You feel this connectedness. You feel these thoughts of pure clarity. I think I experienced that quite a bit with medicine as well, and it's very interesting to me the fact that the earth is waking up to this, and that places like Denver have decriminalized, Oakland have decriminalized, and it's kind of just like with cannabis, we're realizing there was a war on drugs, and a lot of these medicines have been used for thousands and thousands of years, and they've been extremely helpful in getting us to the place we are today. And they're called plant medicines for a reason, because yes, they can be used as a drug. You can use it to just trip out and see some dragons and whatever, roam through a field and whatever. You can do that. Yeah, you can use that, but it comes down to intention. If you use this medicine as a medicine and not as a play toy, because if you use it as a play toy, you're going to get your ass kicked. You're going to be thinking you're going in and just seeing fairies and all that, and you're going to have some reality strike you pretty hard. And I think it's just like with anything. There's a fine line between knowing the power of something, the power of a medicine, and just like with, I mean, we won't get into the pharmaceutical industry, but something like that, you take too much of that, and that can kill you too. So we think that certain things are safe because the laws regulate them that way. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, if it comes from the earth, there's a fairly good chance that I will be open to interacting with that and experimenting with that and listening what that has to tell us. Because I think there is clearly, as we talked about, there's some great power to that. And I think the stories that we've all shared really express the great positive impact that it's had on our lives.
Exactly. And the something I've personally learned, and as far as my situations go, as far as what I'm being specific with plant medicine is, um, I've done ayahuasca once, and I really don't see myself being called back to do ayahuasca again. It was definitely a unique experience. But as far as how I explained how plant medicine has really allowed me to reconnect to my soul and feel things that I've suppressed for quite some time, is I'm talking about DMT, 5-MeO DMT, which is a specific, I would say just a specific formula of DMT. A lot of people are familiar with DMT. Once you mention 5-MeO DMT, they don't even know what you're talking about. It's very tricky to get, and it's very difficult to find someone that has it that knows what they're doing as far as being a shaman. But with the medicine, it's the most important part is the integration part. Once you're not on the medicine, it is actually very easy for you to slip right back into how you were originally feeling and living. It loses its potency quite quickly if you don't do the work. It's like a good analogy I can think of right now to kind of explain how the medicine can be used is It's like going in for a job interview. That right there is the use of the medicine. When you're actually on the medicine, have it be anywhere from 20 minutes to several hours, depending on which medicine you're using. DMT lasts anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes, depending on your dose. Ayahuasca could be anywhere from 8 to 12 hours, and same with acid as well. Psilocybin too. So that right there is the interview. Once you're off the medicine, you get right back into just the flow of your life, I would say. I don't want to say reality, because honestly, the medicine is honestly putting reality right in front of you. Just the thing is, a lot of people don't fucking like to see what reality really is. That's why people do have bad experiences with the medicine, because they're running away from reality. They're running away, honestly, from what they need to honestly engage in. So that's the job interview right there. But once you get back to reality in this flow of life, that's when you need to put in the work. You need to actually make time to connect to the things that bring you joy in life. And it's amazing that our society is conditioned in a way that they don't do things that make them feel good. They're not doing a job that creates happiness within inside themselves. They're in a relationship that they really don't enjoy. Sex isn't good. They're not feeding themselves good quality food. They're not getting to bed on time. They're not moving right. They're not breathing right. All of these things they just manifest off one another. And that's easy for people to do. You figure it would be a lot easier for people to really just do things that make them feel happy, make them feel loved, But in a lot of relationships, what drives people to even be more unhealthier is they're not receiving the right love they need to feel loved. And that's something that we all need to understand, that we all love. We just all love differently. So if we all love differently, that means that we're going to receive love differently as well too. Some people receive love by buying them, things, clothes, purses, food, etc. Other people feel love by just being around them, energetically speaking. So it's important for us to continue to grow and learn as an individual, is for us to acknowledge that, and our dream team or our circle of friends we have is to understand that they are loving people around them in the way how they express love. But to certain others, that may not feel like love to them. So they're going to judge that person as if they're not a loving person. Does that make sense? I know I kind of worded that a little, it wasn't necessarily fully in line with how I was feeling. I'm just trying to put that together, is we all love equally. It's just we all have different ways as far as expressing the love. Yes. So it's not right for either of us to say, you're a better lover than them, for example. It's just how we go about receiving and feeling the love. You could be in a relationship and your wife is a great lover, but she's not giving you the love you need. So you're still, in a way, depleted of love from others. Not to say she's not a good lover. She's just not the right lover for you. That's all. And if we're able to realize that, man, we'd all be a lot happier. We really would be.
Definitely. Now, I love it. I just want to go back to what you said about the plant medicine, and it's a tool. And that if we don't utilize the tool after the ceremony is over, after the medicine has diminished in terms of its effects on us in the moment, in those 4 to 6 hours or 20 to 30 minutes, we can just go back so quickly into our old habits and our old ways of being. And I think that it's kind of the way I see it. It's a key. It unlocks the door, but then after it's over, we need to walk in the door. So we open these different chambers within our mind, or different beliefs. But once it's over, once the experience is over, the medicine is gone back to sobriety, we need to walk through that door. And we need to keep walking through that door and walk further through that door and see what's behind there. And as you said, it builds up a level of self-awareness, and it builds up a level of knowing what we want. And maybe, as you said, maybe it's not what we have currently. Maybe it's something, like you said, maybe you have the best loving wife in the world, but she's not the lover for you. And developing that self-awareness, and I think removing expectations is a big part of that, is that we often have expectations for people, what they should be, what our perfect relationship looks like. And sometimes we get caught up in those expectations, and we get caught up in what other people's idea of a perfect lover is or a perfect life looks like, that we tend to not tune into what our perfect life looks like, our perfect lover looks like, our way of giving love, our way of receiving love. And that can be difficult. And as you said, people can on the outside have the best lover in the world, they can have the best job by other people's standards, but then they're not happy. And I think that that's something that things like the plant medicines, like meditations, like journaling, like anything that dives deeper into our own mind, that we dig out garbage, we pull out our limiting beliefs, we pull out pain, we're able to express ourselves. And anything that just gets closer to our truth, I think, is something that is extremely valuable. And as we said, that could be something different for every single person. That could be the journaling, that could be Tai Chi, meditation, different forms of exercise. Not every exercise is going to be the same for each person. Not every form of meditation is going to be the same for every person. Not every form of love is going to be the same for every person. And I think it just comes down to finding our truth. And I think that finding our truth is something that we're all after, whether we're aware of it or not. And I think that that's something that you guys are you two in particular, are very, very empowering, in the sense that you are very obviously pursuing that truth. You're pursuing your journey. You're sharing your journey. You're sharing your gifts of the world. And I guess my question for both of you is, how do you think that people, the average person who works a 9-to-5 job, who's in a relationship they hate, they're eating the hamburger, the Diet Coke, and the French fries, what do you guys say is the first step just to kind of getting out of that funk and helping people get closer to their truth?
Learning how to breathe.
I like that.
Learning how to breathe and feeling how to breathe properly. That right there is the foundation for creating a healthy, loving life. 100%. In my opinion, you can't have happy, healthy emotions if you're not breathing properly. In my opinion, the number one cause of anxiety and depression is developing a breathing dysfunction, an inverted breathing pattern. Having the correct understanding on really what that does to the body and the disruptions it causes throughout our musculoskeletal system and the stress it causes on our organs, our glands, our endocrine system, everything that regulates our body to function is all correlated to how we breathe. So if we're not breathing properly, our bodies aren't going to be functioning properly either. So right there is the foundation for somebody that, for example, lives the average lifestyle of working 9 to 5, eating McDonald's. Yeah, it's even better. Let me throw in the vegan burger too. I think they have a vegan burger. That's even better right there. Supercharge the shit out of it. But the foundation right there is just learning how to breathe. It's amazing, actually. And I've been able to actually witness it. Is a client I actually just started working with a few weeks ago. She has so much pain in her body, I don't even know where to start. And all what I've been having her do is just breathe. Spend 20 to 30 minutes a day breathing. It's amazing how many of her symptoms completely subsided from just breathing. So that right there is proof that how we breathe has a tremendous influence on how we're thinking, feeling, and acting out.
Xavi, I want to hear your thoughts on this, my man. I know that you got a lot to say on this topic, so I want to hear you spill it out, man.
All right, brother. Yes. As Jason said, breath is the way. As Jason and I have both learned, You combine the words birth and death, you get breath. And I think the most potent tool for those who are living a lifestyle that they feel they deserve, I really want to emphasize that. Those who are unhappy, generally, and in my experience, have a part of themselves that think they deserve that have been told that they're only worth that have been told that the only way to be acknowledged and loved is to be that. I think the only tool that impacts at the core is a combination of love and breath. For me, love means acknowledging any part of yourself where it is and however it has become. So let me rephrase that. Acknowledging any part of yourself wherever it is and however it is. To acknowledge the process of whatever aspect of self has become disenfranchised, unacknowledged, and unappreciated. When we take the time to say, I love you to our heart, we deepen our breath. When we deepen our breath, we increase our capacity to receive love. And a lot of us feel unloved. A lot of us feel disconnected from a sense of love within ourselves. Because, like I said, we're told that we're not worthy of love, and we're told that in order to be loved, others have to love us first before we can love ourselves. My experience of healing, integrating parts of myself that have been lost or disenfranchised, is to first invite them into the space of my breath, and then to acknowledge them for whatever they desire to be acknowledged. So let's just take an example of the part of Xavi who felt disconnected from his mom at 5 years old when his parents divorced. Taking the time to breathe deeply so that Xavi, who felt that that divorce was his fault, can have space to be, can feel safe and protected, and then to listen and communicate with that part of myself from the most loving place possible, which is to say, sweetheart, honey, I know that you think this is all your fault, and that's okay, but I'm here to love you just as you are. You don't have to trust me. You don't have to believe me. But I just want to share with you that I think you're brilliant and beautiful, and that all the things you feel for which you are responsible are really just parts of yourself that deserve more love, not less. And I hope to be that love for you, and I want to let you know you're worthy of receiving that love. Something of that nature, taking the time to acknowledge most people feel like shit about themselves. Most people hate themselves. Most of the ways in which people contribute to the world are attempts to get their mother or father to love them. And if we all took the time to say, I don't feel loved when, and I do feel loved when, and create a list of those things. And like Jason said, just take time to create more space to feel happy within yourself, to fill yourself up with those things that make you feel loved. We have a much different planet. And I hope that every time that us three convene and we interact with other people in our lives, that we can be ambassadors of that love that we have always wanted to share, and we can be beacons of light for people who feel unlovable.
I really appreciate you for sharing that, Xavi.
Thank you, brother.
That 100% came from experience and from the heart. And that's something that I admire about both of you two, is you guys don't share shit out of just a fucking textbook. You guys actually share experience. And that honestly allows me to connect to how you guys feel. And that right there creates growth. And what a difference it is listening to somebody explain something that they've experienced more so than just something that's out of a textbook. And that's something that a lot of people aren't able to establish that awareness around, yet they go see all these doctors in white coats, for example, and so-called specialists, where they don't have any life experience because they're sick themselves still. And everything that they're just telling to their patients is coming out of a textbook. They don't know whether it's true or not. It's what they learned, you know, and they got their degree or PhD in whatever profession they're doing, and they haven't applied any of the textbook literature to their life. And in my opinion, that's just a waste of knowledge. if you don't apply it. Knowledge comes from experiencing what you've learned, which is really great about the Czech Institute. For the most part, you really do look at the majority of Czech practitioners and holistic lifestyle coaches that are out there, and you see that they really are putting all of the education and literature that they've learned into their own life for them to experience it and understand how difficult it is to actually heal in certain situations, how difficult it is to actually get off of gluten. And if you're able to experience it, then you have a good understanding and awareness that when you're working with your clients and patients, that it takes time. But for someone that hasn't experienced how difficult it is to get off of gluten or how difficult it is to stop an exercise addiction, then all what you're going to be doing is setting them up for, honestly, failure. Because you're going to be expecting results from them that's really not, how to say, it's not reasonable. It's not. And the reason why I'm speaking this right now, actually, is yesterday I had a consultation with actually who's now a new client of mine. And one thing that he asked from me, and I could have responded in two different ways, but one thing he asked from me is, I see how, for example, how disciplined you are in your life and everything like that, is I want you to understand that I'm not going to be able to be where you are. There's no way. And I don't want to be. All I want to do is just improve my health. And to you, that may look like very, very little baby steps, no change at all. But it's how I feel. So, like, for example, with just diet and exercise and stuff, he's like, the client was just saying is, it will probably take me a while to honestly get into a routine of eating good quality food and learning how to honestly just exercise effectively. And since I've been able to experience it myself, honestly, it's taken years to honestly develop the correct awareness around exercise and knowing when to exercise and not to exercise, work out, work in. So I can completely relate to a lot of other individuals' experience that it doesn't happen overnight. It could take, honestly, months, and honestly, as long as years to honestly establish the awareness around knowing what to do and what not to do, physically, mentally, and emotionally speaking. And the only way you're going to develop that is experiencing it and applying all of the knowledge and education you've learned into your own life. And that takes time. That takes a lot of time. And I really only see that in Czech professionals, lifestyle coaches and practitioners, exercise coaches. And a lot of these other educational systems it's all about learning from the textbook and not applying it at all to your life. And I think a lot of it has to go for is a lot of these other educational platforms, they don't have somebody like Paul. And at least from my experience, and I think you too can somewhat relate, is honestly knowing that Paul lives it, speaks it, and shits it, literally, his practice, is it allows us to honestly know what he's saying really is the truth.
Definitely. And first, I want to thank you for your acknowledgments toward us. I greatly appreciate both of you. And I think it's something why the three of us connect so well is, as you said, I think we're just sharing our experience and we're not really just on our pedestal pontificating of what is the right thing to do. I think that we're all aware that every single person has an individual life with individual needs, individual goals and desires. And as you said, when you go to someone, a traditional doctor, and you have high blood pressure, they give you a statin, and that's it. You go home, and then it's maintained, and you hit that number, and now you're safe. But why did that? Why is your cholesterol high? Which level is high? Is it the good or bad cholesterol? Put that in quotation marks because there's a lot of studies that's not actually quite so bad as we think. but it's just there is no one size fits all, and I think that that's something that, again, the three of us are very aware of, and Czech practitioners in general are very aware of. And as you said, with Paul Chek being at the head of the pack here, is meeting him in person. There's been very few people that I've met personally and can just tangibly feel the energy that they give out. Just being within 5 feet of him, you can feel his energy, his power, his truth, and just as you said, he eats, shits, and breathes every aspect of what he teaches, because his teachings are grounded in his own experience, through literature, through other people's experience, through scientific studies, through the whole 9 yards, any way that you can potentially collect data. But he has tried everything. And I think that's the most important part, in my opinion, is that yes, he's done all these studies. Yes, he's worked with all these experts. But at the end of the day, it comes from his experience and his truth, and how he has put it all together is what makes it so powerful, and his personal experience. And that's what I think is so exciting about the journey that the three of us have ahead, both individually and as a team here, is just the change that we're going to make, the experience, the individual experience that we each have, which are very different, but also very similar, that we can collaborate together. We can kind of merge together to draw from each other, to empower each other, and to just bounce off each other, ideas, thoughts, experiences. And I think that's what excites me the most about what the future brings, is just connecting with more people like you guys, connecting more with you two at a deeper level. As each conversation, I feel like we learn more about each other, and about our experiences, what makes us unique, how we're similar, and just the growth that we have before us. And I think that really excites me. So again, I just want to thank you guys for being on here, and I'd love to hear your final thoughts of anything we've talked about and anything that can value the listener.
Thank you so much, Brother Rob. I really appreciate your contribution there. And I send back the same acknowledgement to you of everything that you have mastered in your life and are continuing to master. And Jason, I share with you, as always, my love for who you are becoming, my appreciation for everything you share, and the wisdom and the care with which you take time to offer that to the world. My final thoughts are, there's one thing that I do see people in a position of health, in a position of success, in a position of abundance, fail to do consistently. They fail to connect with the parts of themselves that were the antithesis of what they are now. And I think that's something I would actually challenge Paul on if I were to be on his podcast, for example. Paul is a wonderful example of embodiment into living that which he preaches. But as three ascended masters in training here, as we sit together and share our hearts, there's a world of people who are not only turned off by those who are in a position of power and embodiment, but intimidated and scared. And we live in a very masculine world where drive, success, and ego is more important than reception, introspection, and feeling. And I think the best way that I've found that I've impacted myself, it's something I still work on every day, and I'm no means a master at this, but that's to be as soft and gentle with the people and parts of ourselves that are transforming and aspiring as possible. I think what happens for me sometimes is when I meet somebody who's really in their chi, we could call it, or really in their power, at least based on my perception, I'm either welcomed into a gentle heart or I'm detracted by a hard exterior. And I think as people who are physically fit, our goal is to have a hard exterior, but the goal for me is to match that with a gentleness and a tenderness within myself so that people feel safe with me. And I think as three holistic lifestyle coaches in the room, what we can do apart from perhaps maybe the people that we've been mentored by is continue to be as soft, gentle, and caring as possible with those that we meet and interact with. Because change comes by feeling safe, not by feeling necessarily taught or educated.
I love that, Xavi. Thank you so much for sharing. I think that's so important. So thank you.
Very
for that.
beautifully said. Very. My final thoughts would probably touch upon more just being sensitive. I have actually touched upon just self-responsibility and being sensitive and sensitivity, and being sensitive is often looked at as a bad thing. And I think that right there is the driving force that creates disconnection in people. Disconnection for them to be connected to their heart is they don't want to be sensitive. I mean, being sensitive is really the pure beauty in life, because from being sensitive, that's when feeling is able to really emerge from within inside of you. You're not able to feel the cold weather, the hot weather, the cold water, the breeze, the birds, the numbing sensations that go through your body, the orgasm you're having when you're actually making fucking love. All of these things come out from being sensitive. So I love to be sensitive, and I want to be more sensitive. And in order for me to be more sensitive, I need to stay centered in what feels good for me and what aligns with my journey and my dream. That right there allows me to be sensitive to myself. That right there surpasses a lot of other things that you can do that can also promote health and love. For example, exercising just in general is something that our whole society needs, and just engaging in exercise alone can provide people with honestly a lot of health, as long as they're doing it intelligently. But what I think is honestly more important than engaging in exercise, even though it's something that is very important, is honestly just learning how to be sensitive. Because when you're able to feel what it's like to be sensitive, then you're going to actually make the right decisions around exercise. But if you don't establish that sensitivity within inside of yourself and you engage in exercise, then most likely you're not going to have that awareness and the feeling on whether or not to exercise and how to exercise. By going to the gym and starting your warm-up set and just feeling like it's just too heavy or low energy, that person within inside of yourself that's going to say, you know what, I think I should just honestly focus on doing just maybe a little bit of mobility work, or not exercising at all, or honestly just doing some working exercises. That comes from being sensitive. So if you're not sensitive, you're going to go to the gym, you start your warm-up set, and it feels like it's just too heavy already, but you're still going to engage in a workout because you feel like you have to do it. You have to exercise. You know, so sensitivity is really the foundation from making the right decisions and allowing us the awareness on whether to say yes or no to things. And that goes towards everything. That goes towards even making love with someone. I've made decisions not to make love with women who I've had in my life, and that's come from being sensitive, because I felt like at the time the setting wasn't ideal for the experience that I wanted to have. And that was a very hard decision for me to make, honestly. Us being very horny guys around our age and having an opportunity that comes to us to express ourselves in a way that us men feel the need to do all the time, to where they're honestly taking advantage of other girls and women because they just want to express themselves in that way. But really, that takes away from the pure beauty of really what love is. You know, sex, to me, sex is just a feeling that lasts for 20 to 30 minutes. And then you have just the rest of the day where honestly, you're just the same person. But love is a whole body experience where it changes who you are, because you're able to really just express pure love and energy for that person you're making love with. And they're able to do the same as well. So yeah, just kind of went off there, but just being sensitive.
Thank you, man. Thank you for sharing. I think that we're gonna need to have an entire podcast about sex and love in the future, because I think we got a lot to go down on that rabbit hole. So we'll save that for a future episode. But
Sex and love, yes.
My friends, thank you so much for your participation, for all the great love and wisdom you guys put out there, for sharing your journeys, being so open to the world in this way, and just continue to do what you guys do so well and helping people. So thank you guys for being here.
Thanks, my man. I really appreciate you for having us on, and really brought a lot of joy to my Saturday afternoon. And I really just want to just briefly express myself, the amount of appreciation that I have for both of you. Xavi, when I originally met you, which I think it was earlier this year at Exercise Coach, for example, since that day, my life has completely changed from honestly having you in my life and having you as a friend. With Rob, honestly, I really enjoy hearing everything that you have to share with this whole community that has interest in what you're sharing. You're very, very genuine, and you're such a smart guy. It's amazing how smart you are, and you're still so young. It's amazing. It really is. And the amount of drive and discipline you have as an individual is something very, very special. And I'm very happy to be a part of that. And I'm very happy that you've reached out to me to have me on one of your podcasts. That really meant a lot to me. I really felt very honored. So thank you very much. So you too really have provided me with a lot of joy, and I am who I am today because of you too. 100%. 100%. You know, a lot of the motivation and discipline that I have that goes towards my studying and the work I do comes from individuals like you too. It really does. Because you guys have the same drive and same motivation as I do. But since we're all so unique and authentic, we're all very unique individuals, we just develop a different structure around it, which is the beauty of it, you know? It's like we've gone through the same education, yet we're all three so unique, you know? We all have three different practices, but we've learned the same stuff, but we've applied it to our life, experienced it, and now we have our own way as far as expressing it. It's a beautiful thing, very beautiful thing. The wisdom of the body, man.
Well, thank you, man. That statement right there just absolutely just made my day 10 times better. So thank you so much. And again, I really appreciate both of you and the contributions you guys have made to my life as well. And as I said, I'm so excited for what the future brings with the three of us, for us to continue to grow and work together. And it's going to be one hell of a journey, my friends.
Just one question though. Only 10 times?
How about 1,000? 1,000,000? Is that
there you go, my man. There you go, dude. You shot me down a little bit right there. 10 times. Come on. 10 times?
Infinitely. All right, boys. Well, thank you so much again, and we will talk very soon, my friends. Thank you for listening to this very special edition of the podcast with Xavi Donobedian and Jason Gandzjuk. And as you can see, we had quite a lot of fun with this podcast. We shared a lot from our hearts, our souls, through our own experience and knowledge. And as you can tell, these are two great gentlemen with a lot of love for the world to share. So I'd really appreciate if you guys check them out on their social media and other places that I will put in the description. So please go to that description and check out what they do and how to be best in contact with them. And as always, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. There will be many more great conversations like this coming up in the future. So we'd much appreciate if you like, share this video, and subscribe to the channel. And as always, this podcast is brought to you by our superfood organic nutrition sponsors, Purium Health Products and Mushroom Revival. So both of these groups have an incredible array of products. They're both stewards of the earth, where Purium is going to be the first company to be 100% plastic free by 2021, and Mushroom Revival plants one tree for every product sold. And so you can get a discount on both of these websites by using the code WHOLEHEALTH. So if you go to ishoppurium.com and use the code WHOLEHEALTH, that's WHOLE health, you'll save $50 on your first order. And if you go to mushroom-revival.com and use the same code WholeHealth, you'll save 15% on your every order. So I would really appreciate if you check out those 2 superfoods. I know the owners and I know the whole group and what they're all about, and I've been really happy with the results of the products they've given me through the just incredible on nutrition and mental clarity they've given me, helping me with my sleep, my focus, energy, the whole 9 yards. So again, go to iShopPurium.com and mushroom-revival and use the code WholeHealth at checkout to save your money. And again, please subscribe to the channel. Please check out Xavi and Jason, and we'll have more great podcasts soon. Thanks for listening.